There we go. Good morning and a happy Hanukkah to you. It's been a really great week this past week so far. So many different interactions with so many different people. As some friend of mine quoted, you're out there by car, by foot, by truck, outdoor, indoor events. And thank God, despite the restrictions of the pandemic, working within the guidelines of the governor, we were able to bring the cheer and joy of Hanukkah to so many people. So, my dear friends, tonight is the seventh night of Hanukkah. We're like, it's the best day of Hanukkah for me. I like it the most. It's almost a full menorah, so it's not over, but we have all that light, all that beauty emanating from the beautiful menorah. And every year I always love the sixth and seventh night. Tonight is the seventh night of Hanukkah. It's just so beautiful. But today, we may have what we call a white Chanukah. Now, I don't think there's any nostalgic feeling of having snow falling down outdoors while you're lighting the menorah. It's really not an element of Hanukkah. Hanukkah is in the winter, but it's really not connected with snowfall and all those dramatic, beautiful, romantic scenes that we find in other areas of society. But the reality is, it's going to be a white Hanukkah. We're all getting ready for the snowstorm. Tonight we'll all be kind of in that little lockdown. So thank God it's only for maybe 12 hours, 24 hours the most. But that feeling of, again, being home, not being able to go out anywhere, not being able to do much is actually a blessing. Because hopefully when the snow falls outside and you're lighting your menorah and you see the beautiful scene outside, but you're home in your warm home, it will give you some time to reflect on the serious message of Hanukkah. Because it's so beautiful, as I mentioned. 7 lights of the menorah. Which just a week ago was the one little candle that we lit, one little oil flame that we lit. And look at it has grown with consistency of small actions that we've spoken about before. But as you reflect on the menorah today, I want you to think about the following. There's something very unique about the festival of Chanukah. Chanukah is the only festival on the Jewish calendar that the idea is to promote outwardly this festival and its message. Every other festival that is observed is either at home, the Seder is at home, or in the synagogue, we blow the shofar in the synagogue, and even the sukkah that we build in fall, which is outdoors, but it's not there to publicize a miracle outdoors. It should be in your backyard, and that's fine. It's okay if it's in the front yard, but it doesn't need to be a PR mitzvah, so to speak. But Hanukkah is really a PR mitzvah. It's a mitzvah where we put it, al Pesach Beisal Mibachutz, is supposed to be on the doorway, or many people put it in the window, so the passerbys can see it, which is why we specifically do that mitzvah in the evening. It's one of the mitzvahs that you can't do during the day. So the idea is that Hanukkah is exclusively a PR mitzvah to promote it. Let everyone see the menorah. But is it only the menorah we want people to see? Or is it the message of the menorah that we want to share? And why is it? What is that message that specifically the menorah becomes the symbol of what we'd call the PR of the Jewish message? So let me share with you another Jewish tradition that I'm sure you all know. Oh, dreidel, 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 I made it out of clay, right? That famous game of the dreidel, where we spin the dreidel on the table and we have either real money, fake money, chocolate money. But the point is, we play dreidel. Now, where does that custom come from? That custom comes from a time in Jewish history during the Chanukah story when the Romans and the Greek Romans would not allow us to teach our children the Torah. They wanted us to adapt the Hellenistic culture of that time, and therefore there was no public performance of Torah study. No Jewish day schools allowed. What would the kids do? The teachers would take their kids into their private room, the back room, and when the soldiers would come and try to snuff them out, they would quickly hide the study text, take out the dreidels, and make believe they were just having a little game playing together. Well, as soon as the soldiers would leave, Dreidel went back, out came the book. So the dreidel actually reminds us of a secretive form of observing Judaism, when you weren't allowed to be public about your Jewish faith and the faith identity of the Torah. So in a sense, the menorah comes to counter that dreidel observance, where there was a time that Jews had to hide and seclude themselves and observe in private, that now we say, but now we have the ability to do it in public. And to live a private Judaism is not sufficient. Judaism must be shining a light outward, or as the prophet says, or lagoyim. We have to be a shining light to people. And that is the celebration of Chanukah, to go from the dreidel game, or what that represents, where you have to observe secretly, into the public. Now, let's think about that for a moment. Why? Why do we have to promote our Judaism? What is wrong if what we do is kept private? What's wrong if Judaism is personal and we keep it at our home, in our room, and when other people come in, we even hide it, or certainly don't promote it? Why do we make a big issue of promoting Judaism? Shouldn't it be something between you and God, a personal experience? And this is what the message of Chanukah is about. No one is truly a private person. Every person in this world was created for a purpose to make an impact outwardly. As the Tanya says, if our soul just came down for our own personal perfection, the soul is far more perfect before it comes down into this world. The exclusive reason, or the exclusive excuse, so to speak, that God figuratively has to take the soul away from its comfortable settings in the spiritual realms and to bring it down into this dark world we live in, is for one reason: because the soul has to make an impact. The soul has to create change in the world that we come in. Judaism is a very personal experience between you and God, so you understand what your outward expression needs to be. Judaism is not just about your spiritual growth. Judaism is here to teach you to make an impact in the world, to light up that darkness. And that's why the dreidel versus the menorah is not just taking us back to Roman times, or taking back to Stalinist times, or taking us back to the Inquisition, or taking us back to Germany, where at the time when Jews had to hide their religion and now we can practice it. It's more than that. It's to inspire you that until your Jewishness inspires you and motivates you to make a difference, you have not completely fully connected to what Yiddishkeit, what your Jewish roots are meant to bring you. Is Judaism a beautiful culture? Sure. A lot of good food in Judaism. There's a lot of good ideas in Judaism. There's a lot of good singing in Judaism. But what's that all about? Placing the menorah at the window, at the doorpost, so that you can share that light into darkness. So it's not about the past. It's about now. How do you view your Judaism? Are you a dreidel playing Jew? Or are you a menorah lighting Jew? Are you a Jew who prefers to keep it personal, but it's nobody's business what I do as a Jew? It's nobody's business what I do between me and God? Or are you a menorah kind of Jew? It is really nobody's business between your relation between you and God, but it is the world's business that you make its impact. It's not their business, actually. It's your business to really understand that you have to take that experience and make a difference. I want to share two stories, and this will conclude. A colleague of mine shared with me that he once went to do a shiva house for an individual, an older fellow who he knew very well, who passed away. Now, this fellow didn't appear to be that observant, and the kids that he knew who were sitting shiva were certainly not observant. You looked at them and you went into their homes. There was no indication that they were observant Jews or even traditional Jews, very distant. But when my colleague came to the shiva home of the father, and they went into the room, a specific room where they did the minyan, he was was confused. There were Jewish books that were evidently used. There was a prayer book that was used. There was a menorah. It looked like a really traditional Jewish individual who just passed away. And he was close enough to his colleague. Yes, I don't get it. Your father seems to have been so traditional and so in tune with his Judaism. Look at his books. Look at his Jewish artifacts, all the things that he's been using. He seems to have been really plugged in. And you, John, Mark, whatever his name was, we know each other. He says, you're so distant from all of this. What happened? Well, where was the disconnect? And the fellow says, I'll tell you the truth. My dad was a Holocaust survivor, and he was very, very scared to act out his Judaism in public. Everything you see in this room is exactly the place where my dad would study and pray. We knew he went in here an hour a day or 2 hours a day, but he kept everything in the room. He never shared anything with us, and certainly not outwardly. So it had no meaning to us, and we just disconnected. And that is a sad story, because when we keep our Jewish practice to ourselves, we are depriving the world from the spiritual impact that you and I and each of us in our individual lives are capable of making. So this is what I want you to think about today. You're going to be observing the menorah. You're going to be lighting the menorah. You're going to be sitting at home while the snow is falling outside. Think of your connection to your Judaism. Are you that menorah Jew? Or are you that dreidel Jew? And even in other things, you're proud to go to shul, you're proud to tell people you're Jewish. But how much does that motivate you and inform you about your purpose in life? And not a detailed purpose, but the general purpose, that life is about making an impact. Life is about positive influence in other people's life. And I had this thought this week while I was driving with my menorah in the car. And it was interesting, you drive and things are usual. But it was a nice sunny day, and there was a shadow. The sun was shining bright. And as my car is driving, I see the shadow of the menorah reflected on the ground wherever I was. And I thought, that's really the lesson of Chanukah. Like I said before about lighting it outward. We each have a certain shadow that we create in the world that we live in. God's light shines through us. The energy of Hashem shines through us. And how it shines through us and the impact that we make on the world is very unique between yours and mine and everyone else's. Are we in tune with that impact? And boy, can we make differences in our lives. And that's what I want to conclude with this following experience Miriam and I had this week. Miriam is standing in Chanukah Wonderland, right just down the street, and a woman walks in. And the woman asks Miriam, my wife Miriam, do you have a daughter, Esther? And I see a bunch of comments here. Okay. I said, do you have a daughter, Esther? My wife says, sure. We all know Esther, our daughter in Tel Aviv. Says, well, my name's also Esther. And I used to meet your little daughter, Esther, when I used to come to Chanukah Wonderland many years ago, when my mom would bring me to Chanukah Wonderland for all the programs and activities that you've done. And now that I just got married, I want to do Chanukah in my home. I want to buy a menorah and candles to light in my home. And that told me what the story of everything we do and what the story of the impact of our actions are. We've been doing Chanukah Wonderland, I think it's almost 25 years or 25 years. And here we have now a second generation of a little child who came to one of our programs, Chanukah Wonderland, many years ago. Did we know what impact it really had on her? Not at all. But a number of years later, you see that the little seed that was grown, the effort that we placed to create and allow people to celebrate, yielded its fruits in a very, very special way. So this, my friends, is the question. Are you a dreidel Jew? Or are you a menorah Jew? And the way you can answer that is think to yourself, what does Judaism mean to me? In addition to the delicious latkes, gefilte fish, matzah bowls, whatever it may be, What is the worldly message that Judaism imparts for which I can be a proponent? And you're going to have two options. Either you'll be able to identify it and you'll say, you know what? That's a powerful message. I need to share that with more people. Or you may answer yourself, I really don't know. I'm not sure what is the worldly universal message that Judaism offers for which I could be a proponent of. That's a pretty complicated question, and therefore, I don't know the answer. So then option two is find out, spend some time, explore, look a little deeper into the Jewish ideas, into Jewish teachings, and find that message. Find that message not only so you can be informed, but find that message so you can inform others. And by informing yourself and informing your others and being a role model of those ideas and leaving your shadow on the world, you'll be uplifting not only the people you impact, but yourself as well. So this evening, my dear friends, I want to wish you a wonderful Chanukah. And again, I want to inspire you to use this time to reflect on this important message of Chanukah, the PR holiday of the Jewish faith. What is the message? What is the message that you are charged to share? Share it if you know it. Learn about it if you don't. But either way, enjoy the night of Chanukah. Enjoy those flames. Listen to its message and be inspired, because this is a beautiful, beautiful holiday. And tonight will be a beautiful night to reflect and internalize those messages. Have a happy Chanukah.